Hey guys, Brian Stevens here with the National Real Estate Post. I've got Barry Habib. Now, you usually see Frank doing this. I'm doing this not because I lost a bet to Barry, though his Yankees did sweep my beloved San Francisco Giants in a bet we just made last week. I'm still very, very bothered by that whole thing. Nevertheless, it's not because I lost a bet. It's just because, me and Barry, we need to bump gums every now and then, so this is my opportunity. How you doing today, man?
Doing great, brother. And for those of you that didn't watch this, I've got to tell you, if you look at Brian's Facebook page or mine, so I'm minding my own business. I get this challenge, right? But it was so cool because the way that you did it, you put this unbelievable video editing in. And so I get this thing. I happen to be in Las Vegas, right? True story. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm speaking at a conference, and I'm like, I can't respond just me responding, right? I can't just type something. You put so much effort. This thing was awesome. Yeah. So I call Rick up. Now, Rick was trying to, but he's unbelievable, my head of IT. I said, Rick, look at this thing. I said, you put this beautiful thing. I can't respond like that. So I had Rick try and create this thing where he was pulling up all kinds of graphics and music. We had to get music so you could see my response. Wasn't as good as yours graphically.
I don't know.
On a moment's notice, I think we did pretty good, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was funny because I was out the door. And I'm like, I wonder who the Giants are playing. The Yankees. Well, for baseball fans, American League, National League, they come around every 3 years. So we don't see two of these storied franchises playing each other outside of the World Series, which if they haven't done it in my lifetime. So me and Barry have had a number of different conversations about baseball in the past, and he's very, very pro Yankee. I'm definitely a homer for my Giants. And so I was out the door. I'm like, oh man, I've got to do this. I want to digress one more thing here. And I thought about if I wanted to share this with you. But in the last couple of days, I've reflected a lot on my own behavior. And I think we all do this at times. And, the last 10 years, a lot of the traveling, which you've been doing now for so much longer than I have. But it's kind of funny looking back on the last decade, my ups and downs. I think personality-wise, I think you mature into who you are, right? And I go back to a time when we were in, I think it was New Jersey. And me and you and Frank were sitting down having a conversation about baseball. And tell me if you remember this, Barry. And I had a chip on my shoulder, and I don't know why I did. I really honestly don't. And we were talking about kind of, jawing at each other a little bit in a super friendly manner. And then I remember we were talking about how much money these teams were spending. And for some reason, I got defensive over the San Francisco Giants and started made some absurd argument, and probably what came across as a prickish fashion to you. and I remember you took the high road with me, and you're just like, Brian, don't even trip on it. Do you remember that?
I don't remember exactly. I remember we talk about baseball a lot whenever we talk because we both love it, but. Bro, listen, we all get like really like supportive of our teams, we all kind of feel it in the heart for our teams, but it's all in good fun, brother.
I never had a chance to apologize for turning into a prick in that moment for no good reason, and you deserved one. But anyways, I've been
no need
a lot lately.
No need. Listen, I probably have made more mistakes than I can even possibly imagine counting. So don't worry, brother. I love you, man.
When we get out of the business, let's do it on the same day, and we'll go through all of our mistakes we've made. We'll shoot a video and send it to everybody.
It'd be like longer than Game of Thrones for me.
Oh God, totally. All right, hey, I do want to talk to you about a couple of things here. So, there's a lot of folks. Well, in fact, let's just show this video from Diana Olick from CNBC. She put this out a couple of days ago. Check it out, and I want to hear your response to this.
Simple. You've got this market that completely overheated. You have a lot of homes available for sale on the high end of the market, but on the low end of the market, even the medium range of the market, people just can't afford to get into these homes.
Why
and so they're
is
not selling.
The high end everywhere kind of seems to be wilting? Is there a tax theme there?
That's market-based. Of course, you have on the East Coast in New York, Connecticut, we've talked about Greenwich and other places, in Chicago even, you have the tax issue because people can't deduct what they thought they could or what they used to be able to. Other issues in California, the high end, yes, it's slumping, but again, it comes down to that affordability issue, and that's why we see this incredible sensitivity on mortgage rates. We saw sales bump up in March because mortgage rates took this huge drop. They're only up about 0.5 percentage point more now, and now we're seeing sales pull back again.
Right, because even today, the 10-year went back below 2.5% after the weak ISM reports. You're saying that alone might help these markets out a little.
Yeah, I mean, you want to see the lower interest rates. You want to see affordability. What we're seeing now in San Francisco is prices coming down, which is a great sign. I know it's terrible if you own a house, but it's a great sign if you're buying because prices always lag sales. And so we're finally getting to the point where prices are coming down, but it's been a hard struggle.
Barry, what do you think about that?
So this is the problem that we have in the media. We've talked about this together, how the media has this negative bias. They don't care about the truth. They just want to try and use shock value to gain more eyeballs. So let's understand what happened there. So first of all, the report was a great report. Pending home sales, which is really important. Existing homes represent 90% of the housing market. And the pending home sales report, what it does is it measures signed contracts. So it's kind of a finger on the pulse, okay? Almost real time.
Sure.
Now, this is really critical information. And the forecast was supposed to be up 0.7%. Their graphic is wrong, which is 1.5. It was 0.7%. I can tell you that factually.
Okay.
It came in at 3.8% higher. That's a really big jump. This is just great news. But for Diana, she can't. It was probably caused her a tremendous amount of anxiety that this was good news. She probably was like curled up in a ball for a little bit. So when she comes out of this, what she winds up saying is, first of all, let me pull in some obscure number that really was a few days prior to that, which was, it's important data. It's Case-Shiller, and it is the gold standard, but Case-Shiller is a little bit older dated information. And she said, well, that went from 4.2% annual appreciation to 4%. Granted, it moderated slightly, but there are different circumstances. First of all, Case-Shiller is for February, which is older. Case-Shiller is based on closings, which is now representative for what was going on in December. In December, think about what's happening. The stock market was down 22%. People looking at their portfolios, I don't want to buy. In the Midwest, they have a polar vortex. I'm not shopping in a polar vortex. Maybe somebody else is, not me, okay? And then on top of that, interest rates were not as low as they were a little bit later. So you combine all these things, and plus, hey, it's holiday time too. Maybe there's other things to be doing. Many of us are a little slower holiday time too, right? So perhaps all those things went into a few less purchases that occurred then, which resulted in slower closings for February. And February is a shorter month. Another thing to contemplate. Diana, all she did is focus on, went from 4.2% to 4%. You know, it's still appreciating. And then perhaps the most egregious thing she does is listen to the end of it, and she says, home prices are going down. They're not. Diana, home prices are going up. They're going up even on this measure, 4% a year. If she would just buy a calculator and do the math, just do it. Guys, do it. Take 4% and compound that out on the value of your home. Find out how much that is over time. It is an insane amount of wealth that's created. And yet she's telling people home prices are going down. And that's what frustrates me. This is why people who are subscribers know that I point to Diana Olick as, you know, she embodies the issues that we have in the media with just bad information that goes out, because she always does this. She's been saying don't buy a home and rent for 7 years. She's been poo-pooing the housing market for 7 years. Could you imagine people who listen to her?
Now, I first of all, I completely agree with you, but playing devil's advocate here, could we say, all right, so we saw signed contracts go up 3.8% in March, month over from the previous month. We also saw the biggest drop in interest rates over that time, over a 10-year period. Could we not then have expected to have more signed contracts, considering the amount rates have dropped in, you know, it's 10 years, Barry? I mean, should we have seen a higher number?
So let's define what that is.
Okay.
On a percentage basis, okay, we did see interest rates decline. But remember now, when we're talking about on a percentage basis, if your interest rate goes from let's just say 4 3/4 to 4 1/4, okay, you're talking about almost a 10% drop, more than a 10% drop in interest rates on a relative basis. There have been times that you've seen more than a 0.5% drop in rates. Rates have dropped much greater than that. But the media, again, using specific selected ways to point something out for effect. So yeah, did a 0.5% drop in rates help? Of course it did. Of course it did. Why shouldn't it, right? But right. Rates had gone up prior to that as well. So, you know, we're looking at factors that will definitely be in flux. Interest rates are going to move up and down. And that's not the end all reason. Home prices have been going up during higher rate periods, during lower rate periods. All I'm trying to say here is you got a report that said this, that said pending home sales which is an important measure, were up 3.8%. Leave it at that. Why do you have to pull in other reports? And then why do you have to say something that's factually incorrect, that home prices went down? I'm not arguing that interest rates didn't help that. They should help that. It's great. But why give 100% wrong information? Because there's no way you could spin it that home prices went down. They just didn't. It's not. Right. It's just an untruth. So that's the problem I have. Just tell it like it is. Don't color it. Don't change it. Don't lie about it. Tell us the truth for a change. And we'd appreciate that, right? In the media.
You know, here's a question I have for you. I always, in the back of my mind, I'm always second guessing the cause and effect relationship between people's activity and interest rates. Or that would be one example of many examples that I see a lot when I'm looking at the media on a regular basis as it pertains to the real estate mortgage industry. So, the connection there that I just made is, well, rates dropped by 0.5%, the biggest drop in over a 10-year period. And Diana Olick is saying, and that is the reason why people are going and buying houses. So the cause and relationship, rates drop, then people get off the fence and buy. The question I have for you is, and because I'm always putting this in the context of myself, if I'm going to go out there and buy a house, like for me and my family, I can't imagine I'm going to go, rates are 4.5%. I ain't doing nothing at 4.5%. Nothing. I'm not buying anything. If they get to 4, I'm a buyer again. I don't think that's how people behave. I don't think that cause and effect relationship is accurate. Do you? I mean, just from a practical standpoint.
And obviously, you get it. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Let me explain a couple of details on that. Certainly, at 4, it looks a little more attractive than 4.5, or 4.25 looks more. It helps. There's no doubt that it helps. But for most of us, it isn't enough to get us off the couch and into contract, right? But here's what does. Here's what does. And this is exactly what happened during the same time frame. The stock market was on fire. And when you look at your portfolio in December and you say, oh my goodness, I'm down 22% from where I was just a month or two ago or 3 months ago, and you feel sick, you're not going to go buy a house. But back in March, when it comes back and you're feeling good, now you say, hey, now I feel better about it. And Diana Olick misses that. And quite honestly, almost all of the media misses that. And quite honestly, no one talks about this. But if you measure the activity in the stock market, which we do, and we show people in our updates every day, this has a direct correlation to the psyche of the buyer. You could almost always go back on housing numbers and say, so when were they out shopping? What was the stock market doing? It has a definitive effect on it. If there was a big move down, it'll slow things down. Up, it'll push people out to buy. Very important, and nobody realizes or talks about it.
So I see what we've set up here. So here's a question I have. For a loan officer who's watching this right now, a real estate agent who's watching this right now, with the information they just learned, what's their call to action? What's their marching orders?
So right now, I think you are in one of the best opportunities that you have had in quite some time, because you have 3 things that are going on today. One, you have a very hot housing market, a very hot one. I talk to about 15,000 realtors a year all over the country. I'm telling you right now, they're all busy. There's multiple offers out there. They're busy. There's activity. If something's priced right, it's going, and it's going quickly. So that's 1. 2, interest rates are lower, providing a refinance opportunity. 3, the one nobody's talking about, and the biggest one of all, is that you've been given a gift. Over the last 5 years, home prices have appreciated tremendously.
Yeah.
Exactly the opposite of what Diana Olick's been telling you to do. But I digress. So the big thing there, and that no one's doing, is that you should call every single one of your customers, regardless of their rate, regardless of if they have MI or not. Doesn't matter, because they now all have equity and they all have debt. You can be their debt manager, pull out that equity that they have. It's a gift. Use it to pay down their debt, save the money in cash flow, apply the cash flow towards the new mortgage, and pay their mortgage in approximately half the time that they had remaining. We have tools like that that make it very, very interesting and easy to do. But this is something that no one's doing. Well, some people are doing, but it is our subscribers that are using this tool are telling us that they're making literally, and this is no BS here, they're doing an extra $2 million a month in transactions, and they're just calling everybody. And the vast majority are looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, how could I not do this? Because it illustrates it so beautifully. So the key point here is, what's your call to action right now? Get to work. Yeah. This is the season for you to get to work. This is not the time, oh, I'm going to leave early on a Friday afternoon, I'm going to take it easy. No, this is the season for you to work. This is the time where you have the talk with your family and you say, look, We have a great opportunity here. I don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 60 days, maybe if I'm lucky, it's 90 days. But for this period of time, a few days in the week, I'm going to have dinner in the office. You know why? Because I'm going to keep calling people, going through every single client I have, and really working hard, because now is the time that I can create a lot of wealth to do so many things. I can make in this period of time tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars more than I would have had to make. The time to take it easy is, you know when that is? When it's slow. When the phone's not ringing, when people aren't buying homes, when you don't have that opportunity to refinance people or do stuff like that, that's when you slow down. You take your foot off the gas when it's slow. When going full throttle on the gas doesn't give you much results, well then back off, because you don't lose that much. Now, the incremental increase that you put on the gas pedal has huge results for you, and that's what you need to do right now. So you need to be working, you need to be working hard right now, and you need to call every single customer you have, because every single one of them is a refinance candidate. And right now is the time for people to buy homes. You need to show them that opportunity, because home prices are going up.
You know, it's I always kind of made the assumption that most loan officers really understand the whole idea behind out cash out, debt consolidation, refinance. I
have no clue. Guaranteed. No. I teach people every day, no clue.
Well, it tripped me out when the last time I saw you, which was just a couple of weeks ago, and you were breaking down scenarios for a group of loan officers. 2/3 of that room was going, "Oh my God, this is incredible." And
can I tell you what half the room did? They did it on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's something to really think about, guys. When you're looking at your cash out debt consolidation refinances, like Barry's showing you with the tools that you have, it's one thing to tell a person and explain to them. It's an entirely different thing to show them. And the tools that Barry has will allow you to show them. And here's how that goes. Hi, would you like to do refinances? Rates are lower. I'm fine, thanks. It's only 0.5% lower than what I currently have. Well, can I show you how you could free up a lot of cash and become debt free with a refinance? Now you're cooking. And that's what Barry's tools will show you how to do. It's a huge thing.
The example that I showed that day is I said, you got somebody who's got an interest rate currently of 3.5% with no MI. Your rate is 5%. Now I know people's rates today are lower than that, but I just tried to get crazy here. So I'm taking somebody from 3.5, no MI, to 5%. And oh, by the way, you got to pay some closing costs to do it. $4,000 in closing costs above your escrows and prepaids. Barry, what are you smoking? Guess what the result was? The result is that you would save 138 payments of $2,400 a month. So save 138 of those. How good's that feel? Pay your mortgage off 11.5 years sooner. Think about 11.5 years without mortgage payments, now having no mortgage in 16 years from now. And best yet, in 16 years from now, here's what you have. Instead of having a balance on your current mortgage, if you left it alone at 3.5 of $220,000, your balance is zero. You worried about your retirement? Ask yourself right now, has it crossed your mind, do I have enough money for retirement? If it's crossed your mind, don't think it hasn't crossed your customers. Would an extra $220,000 help you? Would it help your customer? Have you thought about how you're going to pay for your kids' college education? This solves the problem and nothing changes. You're making the exact same payments you're making today. All you're doing is you're doing what you should do. Be an advisor, not a salesperson. Really don't say I'm an advisor. Be an advisor. Show people how to create wealth. Debt is such a powerful tool. You know, Apple has $245 billion in cash. They don't even know what to do with it. They can buy countries. They don't know what to do with it, okay? But they also have $174 billion in debt. You know why? Because they know, just like every other company that's listed on the exchange knows, debt's a powerful tool. And you guys are the only ones that can make that change and difference for your customer. Their lawyer can't, their accountant can't, their financial planner can't. Only you can take their debt, if you use the right tools, if you use the right strategies, to create wealth for them without changing anything. Their payment will not change. Keep the same payment, restructure the debt, and allow them to live the exact life they're living now, retire a lot more comfortably sooner, put their kids through college, and create a lot of wealth for them. It's that simple. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
That's interesting. I never thought about it in those terms, but you're right. You're the only one who can do it. And if you are truly the only one who can do it, or if you have a solution to somebody else's problem, don't you have a fiduciary, a professional obligation to actually reach out to that person? Don't do it to make the $2 million, or excuse me, to have the additional $2 million in fundings this next month. Don't do it for that. Don't do it for the 1.25 that you're going to make off that additional $2 million. Don't do it for those reasons. Do it because you have a professional obligation to your past clients.
Brother, that's the philosophy on everything. Never do it for the money. Yep. Do it to help people, and the money just comes to you. Okay, don't ever do it because there's money in it. In fact, just be completely unselfish and do it to help people. If you do it to help people, you're doing a lot of good in the world. That's going to make you feel incredible. but the rewards that come from doing it and the thank yous. If you just put their kids through college, you just paid their retirement, you just saved them 11 and a half years worth of mortgage payments. What do you think they're gonna say? Yeah, can you do an eighth better on the rate? No. They're gonna tell every single person they know. And so many LOs are not only doing it for themselves, for their parents, for their real estate agents, and for their customers, because this just makes too much sense. Why? Because you have this gift of equity that's been handed to you. Take what the defense gives you, okay? Tom Brady, let's argue, maybe the best quarterback in history. Sometimes he doesn't have the best numbers, but you know the difference between him and a Brett Favre. Brett Favre's great too, but look at all those picks, right?
Yep.
Brett Favre had to make the play himself. Brady, he doesn't need the stats. He doesn't have the ego. If it's a run game, if they're giving him the run, he's taking the run. If they're giving the short pass, he's throwing the dink passes in. And all he does is win. And what I want for you folks listening to do, win. Just win. Take what the defense is giving you. You got low rates, you've got a ton of equity, and you have the ability to change people's lives. Just do it.
And record high revolving debt. And by the way, speaking of don't do it for the money, did you realize that Tom Brady is like the 20th highest paid quarterback in the league? He's maybe the best quarterback in the history of the game, and there are 19 quarterbacks making more money than that guy. And he's winning all the rings. I just figured out why me and you can't do this together, Barry.
We go over in time.
Because if we do this, our show's going to be 4 hours long.
Totally true.
Well,
Hey, let's do a live here. As Barry knows, my mom is here, and she's clearly does not want to listen to me and Barry.
but I'll tell you what, Mom. This might be a good strategy for you to consider, right?
This is fine. I know we're going on too long here, but I want to point this out. On the way, we just went to lunch just now, and on the way back here, we were talking about property values. We just had this conversation. I said, you know, if you would have bought a house 8 years ago or bought a couple houses 8 years ago, and I told you to down in Concord, it's true. We just had this conversation. I said the median sales price for a house in Concord, California right now is like $784,000. That's an accurate number. 8 years ago, it was like $245,000. I'm like, you'd be sitting on an extra $1 million right now if you would have just bought 2 houses and turned them into rentals.
But Diana Olick would have told her not to do it, because Diana Olick, all that period of time, would have said rent, don't buy, for all the wrong reasons.
Well,
Gary
listen to that crazy redneck. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, Gary Vee rant about the same things. You know, I think people might have good intentions, but they just don't understand it. That's why it's really important to get advice from people who understand it. It's really important for you all listening to be the ones who understand it.
I totally agree with you. Barry, thank you so much for your time. Frank's going, this is too long. So I got to let you go. Hey, it was wonderful talking with you. Like I said before, keep an eye out for that care package. And listen, loan officers, you have a call to action. There's money waiting for you. What are you going to do? It's a choice. Thank you so much, Barry.
Thanks, brother.
All right, bye. Cool.